The sun stood high above the quiet countryside, as if it had arrived early to witness a day meant for celebration, but for Arvin Hale, the light only highlighted everything he wished he could hide. He sat alone in the back row of the outdoor wedding venue, his suit slightly worn, his tie borrowed, and his heart carrying the fatigue of a man who had spent too many years pretending he wasn't tired. The soft music, the laughter of families gathering, the warm scent of roses and freshly cut grass drifted around him, but none of it settled the weight inside him. Arvin had been invited only because the groom had once worked with him years ago, and although he appreciated the gesture, he felt like an outsider in a place designed for joy. He was a single father who had lived half his life in quiet battles no one ever noticed, and now, surrounded by beautifully dressed guests and polished smiles, he felt more misplaced than ever. Little did he know that the most unexpected moment of his life was only minutes away, something that would make every breath he'd taken before feel like the prelude to a story he never imagined he'd be part of. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and moments that change lives, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel Kindness Spark. Your support helps stories like this reach more hearts around the world. Arvin shifted in his seat as guests continued to arrive, each with someone by their side, partners, families, laughter, echoing as if to remind him of everything missing in his own life. His daughter, 9-year-old Mira, was not with him today. She was spending the weekend with his sister, leaving him with a strange, hollow silence he wasn't used to. Parenthood had been his constant reality, his identity, his reason to keep breathing on the days when exhaustion tightened around him like a fist. Being here without Mira felt like standing without the only piece of himself that still felt whole. He looked around and noticed how beautifully the midday sun washed over the white arches, the petals lining the aisle, and the small lake behind the altar reflecting shimmering silver ripples. The wedding planner moved briskly, photographers tested their angles, and the violinist rehearsed a gentle melody that fluttered through the air like soft feathers. Everything looked perfect. Everything felt perfect. Everything felt distant. Arvin had become used to being invisible in rooms full of people. After losing his wife 6 years earlier, he learned how quickly the world moved on, even when your own heart refused to beat smoothly. The first year was full of condolences, check-ins, and emotional support. The second year was quieter. By the third, people assumed he was okay, even when he wasn't. He became the reliable one, the responsible one, the man who handled everything without complaint. No one realized the strength they praised was actually survival disguised as resilience. As the ceremony began, Arvin focused on the vows, the laughter, the tears of happiness. He smiled for the couple, genuinely wishing them joy, but something inside him twisted. He thought of Mira's drawings taped across their small apartment wall. She always drew 3 figures, herself in the middle, her father on one side, and a blank outline on the other. She told him it was for someone who will love us someday. He always dismissed it with a gentle smile, but truthfully, it stung. He didn't know how to explain to her that he had forgotten how to be seen, how to be chosen, how to believe that someone could step into a life already heavy with responsibility. When the ceremony ended and the sun drifted slightly toward afternoon brightness, the reception area prepared for music and dancing. Guests formed small groups, conversations blooming like wildflowers. Arvin stayed near the edge of the crowd, sipping water from a plastic cup, pretending he wasn't out of place. He watched the dance floor, the lights flickering above it, the joy swirling in circles he couldn't imagine stepping into. Then, almost too quietly to notice at first, a pair of soft footsteps approached. Arvin turned, expecting someone to ask him to move or help with seating. He was used to blending into the background. Instead, he found a woman standing before him, her presence so unexpected that for a heartbeat he forgot he was breathing. She was tall, elegant, and radiant in a light blue dress that shimmered in the sun. Her hair, chestnut brown and styled in soft waves, rested gently over one shoulder. Her face carried warmth, not the polished kind people wear for events, but the type carved by genuine empathy. Her name was Sienna Rowe. Though he didn't know it yet, her presence would change everything. She simply extended her hand, her fingers hovered inches from his own, offering something he didn't even realize he desperately needed. Arvin blinked, unsure, looking around to confirm she wasn't reaching for someone behind him. but her gaze was steady, anchored to him with a sincerity he hadn't felt directed at him in years, and before he could fully register what was happening, Sienna gently took his hand. Her touch was soft, but it carried a certain resolve, a quiet invitation, a whisper that maybe he wasn't meant to stand in the shadows forever. She guided him toward the dance floor, moving without hesitation, as though she had already decided he belonged in the center of this moment. Arvin followed, stunned, his heart thudding unevenly, his mind scrambling for explanations he couldn't form. When they reached the middle of the floor, surrounded by laughter and swirling motion, she stopped and looked at him with a smile that warmed the parts of him he thought had gone cold. People around them noticed. Some smiled, some whispered, but the world felt narrower now, tightened into a circle where only he and Sienna existed. The music rose, a soft, slow melody floating under the bright daytime sky, and Arvin felt like he had stepped into a life that wasn't his, one he hadn't earned, one he almost feared touching. But Sienna didn't let go. She moved with grace and a gentle certainty that allowed Arvin to forget the weight of his hesitation. He felt awkward at first, unsure of his footing, but she guided him with patience, as if she could feel the tremors inside him and wanted only to soothe them. For the first time in years, someone was leading him somewhere soft, somewhere safe. As they danced, she asked about him, his life, his daughter, his work as a repair technician for small appliances. She didn't ask in a way that felt polite or obligated. Her eyes stayed on him, her attention unwavering, as if every word he spoke mattered. Arvin found himself telling her things he hadn't said out loud in years, how Mira loved painting, how he struggled during school days when work schedules clashed, how he feared failing her even though she looked at him like he was her entire world. Sienna listened with the kind of quiet care that made emotion curl in his chest. She eventually shared her own story, her past heartbreak, her journey of healing, her reasons for valuing kindness above perfection. Her honesty felt like sunlight touching a room he had kept locked for too long. As the afternoon passed and the sky deepened into a warm late-day glow, Arvin realized something astonishing. He was smiling without effort. His chest felt lighter, his steps steadier. Sienna had approached him like someone choosing a path, not stumbling onto it, and she made him feel, if only for the length of a wedding song, that he wasn't invisible. But the real shift happened later, when Sienna noticed the small bracelet on his wrist, the one Mira had made from beads and string. Her smile widened, and she asked more about his daughter, not out of courtesy but genuine interest. When Arvin spoke of Mira's dream of having someone to love her someday, Sienna's eyes softened with a warmth so sincere it shook him. In that moment, standing in the golden wash of late daylight, he felt something break open, an old, stubborn belief that he wasn't allowed to hope anymore. The reception wound down slowly. Guests drifted toward the exit, the music softened, and the sky held a gentle orange tint. Sienna stayed close, never rushing him, never forcing conversation. She simply existed near him with a presence that felt like healing. Before leaving, she placed a small folded note into his hand. Arvin held it with trembling fingers, uncertain if he was imagining this kindness. He opened it only after she walked away, her silhouette glowing against the lowering sun. Inside was a simple message. "You're not invisible. Let's talk again. I'd like to meet Mira someday too."